friends, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a day for playing with new makeup. I have so many things to test out. I'm so excited, but we're going to focus on the new stuff from ABH. So if you want to see what I think, what my first impressions are, then just keep watching. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is KARENHARRIS. I like to film tan girl friendly makeup videos here on YouTube. So I ordered a bunch of stuff on the ABH website and it's here. So I want to play with it. And if you guys like new makeup releases, this is the place for you. Highly recommend subscribing, turning on that bell so you're notified every time I post. And without further blabbering, let's get into it. Okay, so today's video is all about the new makeup from ABH. So I have the Nouveau palette here, which looks like this. I also grabbed one of their new blush sticks. They launched two shades. One's like a peachy matte, and then I grabbed the shade Bubblegum, which I kind of swiped right here and blended a little bit. It's got a peachy pink tone to it and then a bunch of gold shimmer. It kind of looks like Orgasm from NARS just based off of me swatching it there. And then they launched three new cream bronzers. So I grabbed the shade Golden Tan. I remember when they initially launched these cream bronzers, I couldn't figure out what shade would work for me. So I decided to grab the shade Golden Tan because I think this one would be the one that works for me. We'll see how it goes. Not like I needed another bronzer, but oh, there's a cover on here. Okay, so there's the shade. Let's give it a swatch. Oh, it's nice and creamy. I kind of used my hand as a palette for my foundation application today. So I got a bunch of product on my hand, but I'm going to try both of those out on my face today. I also unpackaged all of my Sydney Grace brushes. These are launching today as well. So I'm going to try and use some of those. And of course, the star of the show, the thing I'm really excited about is of course the new Nouveau palette, because ABH has not launched a palette in a while. And so I just could not wait to get my hands on this. So they're saying this is like a green palette from them. And I haven't seen this in person yet, so let's go ahead and open it. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, okay. It's definitely like a grungy army kind of palette. I would compare this to Khaki Haze from Huda Beauty and then the Camo palette from the old KKW Beauty brand. So we'll see how this works on our eyes. I'm very, very excited to play with this. On the back here, it says that this is a eyeshadow and pressed pigment palette. Net weight is 1.34 grams, 0.04 ounces, and 12-month shelf life. Cruelty-free, distributed by ABH. And this palette is made in the USA. Okay, so I figured since we're trying out the new palette, let me try the new Sydney Grace brushes as well. This is like a domed eyeshadow brush, and I kind of want to do like a neutral look and then more of a grungy look on this side. I will say, just looking at this shade Muse is the darkest shade in the palette, and it's a metallic shade, which I feel like isn't the greatest because I love a good deepening up shade, so I kind of don't love that the deepest shade is a metallic. Wish they had just made that a matte shade, but that's just me. So I'm going to start off with the shade Metro for the neutral eye look. And this is already like a nice, really pigmented terracotta leaning brown shade. And I'm just going to throw that into my crease and just blend it all over kind of messily. Man, it really bugs me that the deeper shade is a metallic. I haven't swatched these shadows yet, but I will definitely include swatches for you guys. It's definitely blending seamlessly. It's nice and opaque. The shade is very, very pretty. So I love that. I am a big fan of the ABH formula, which is why I continue to buy their palettes. Although I will say that they haven't been releasing palettes as often as they used to, which is a bummer to me because I'm a huge fan. And some of my older palettes are definitely showing wear and tear. Okay, so I'm going to take the shade Paloma and I'm just going to put that on my brow bone just to make sure I blend out that eyeshadow primer because it's definitely hanging out there looking all bold. And I just want to blend the shade Metro with Paloma. This color is such a great mid-tone brown color. I really do like it. I think it would also be such a pretty blush shade, so you know, you have some options there. And then for the metallic, I think I'm gonna use probably the shade Isle or maybe Belle. Lily looks pretty too. There's a lot of options. Oh my goodness. Okay, I kind of want to stick to my neutral plan, so let me just grab a flat brush quick, and I'm just gonna dip into the shade. Let's do Belle on the outer corner, and then we'll do Isle on the inner corner. I've been really enjoying doing that with my eyelids lately, so this is a very simple look, but I feel like a lot of you that would be interested in this palette would definitely be wearing it more for every day, and so I think this would be a really easy look for you guys to recreate. Oh my gosh, that metallic. I just sprayed the brush a little bit because you guys know I love to spray my brush when I use a metallic shadow, and it's going on really nicely. Now I'm going to go into Isle. I just flipped the brush over, and let's just give that one a spray too. So Isle is definitely like a lighter peachy gold shade, but it's blending really nicely with the shade Belle. So I'm going to grab a little more of Metro because I feel like the metallics have definitely taken over. So I'm going to take that matte shade a little bit and kind of blend it on top over the metallic in the crease, because I think the metal kind of crept in to this eye look and took over. So I'm just adding a little bit more of that shade to help blend, but super simple look. I feel like great for every day, not something that you need to spend too much time on. You could definitely do this with just 2 shades too. You don't have to use the 3. Now I want to switch over to this eye and create more like a grungy green look. So let me grab another Sydney Grace brush. Ooh, this is a nice shape. It's like a flat brush, but it has like a really nice edge to it, kind of like outer corner blending. So anyway, sorry, I got distracted. This one is a more domey crease brush, but I'm going to use this one. I'm going to start off by putting Liberty in the outer corner. This is a very pretty grungy green shade, and oh my god, these eyeshadows are blending so nicely. The Sydney Grace brushes are doing a good job. The thing with using new brushes with a new palette is that, like, how do I know what's doing what? But I feel like both of these are doing a really good job. The brushes are blending nicely, and the eyeshadow is blending nicely as well. So I feel like both of these brands are doing a good job. Okay, I'm going to grab this shape brush, and I'm going to go into the shade Fleur, which is a lighter neutral shade, and I'm just going to kind of throw that in the inner corner. I want to use that to lighten up the grungy shade Liberty, because I really don't have a lot of deepening up shade options. So I'm just going to take Fleur and blend that in to Liberty. Okay, so I'm really eyeing the green metallics in this palette. So we got Wings, we got Hope, and we've got this beautiful shade called Peacock. So I'm going to start off with the shade Wings in the inner corner, and I'm going to try and work outwards. So let's start off with Wings, because this looks like a pretty gray shade, and I'm going to spray my brush with every single shade because I think it helps the metallics kind of stick. So I'm picking that up. This is a pretty color. It's like a very light army green shade. Okay, next I'm going to go into Hope, which looks like it's a more dark green. So giving it a nice spray, and we're going to start, ooh, that's a pretty color. And we're going to start that kind of in the middle of the lid and build that towards the outer corner. Okay, and then for the last shade, I'm going to use Peacock, which honestly looks like a blue-green kind of shade, so I'm not even sure if it'll go with those colors, but I'm just going to tuck that on the outer corner there. And I used to definitely be more afraid of bringing metallics into the crease, but I've been doing it a lot more, and I'm not so bothered by it anymore, and I'm just taking that domey brush and just kind of meshing everything together on the crease and with the outer corner of the eye. So these are the 2 eye looks. They're very simple. I want to do the lower lash line with you guys as well, but let me go ahead and play with some of these other products as part of this new launch as well. So I'm dying to try the new cream bronzer because my face feels very flat at the moment. So I'm going to grab one of my favorite cream bronzer brushes. They don't make these anymore, but this is from the Tarte Unicorn brush collection, and I'm picking up the shade Golden Tan. And what I like to do with cream products is kind of stamp them and then kind of blend them a little bit. I feel like the shade is definitely lighter than I thought, so it's kind of blending almost into my skin tone, but that's okay. I'd rather have a lighter bronze than buy too dark of a bronze, because darker bronzers are such a pain in the butt sometimes and you look a little bit muddier. So I'm going to try and build this up. Now, I've been trying a lot of cream products lately, so I feel like it takes a lot to impress me on the cream bronzer front. This is definitely like creamy. I just wish I had gotten a bit of a darker shade. Although I will say that ABH could do a better job of providing better descriptions as well of their products, because when they initially launched this cream bronzer, I couldn't tell if they had a shade for me, which is why I passed on it. And I mean, I feel like Golden Tan should have worked for me, but it definitely feels a little light. We'll have to see when I review the footage, but just wanted to mention that to you guys. Okay, so just because the cream bronzer was a little light, I just want to add a little bit of my Hourglass bronzer just to brighten up my face a little bit. And then for blush, I did grab the shade Bubblegum, which is their new like satin blush. So I want to throw that on my cheeks. And I'm going to use this small brush. I think this is like a small powder brush from Sydney Grace, but I'm going to use it to buff this blush in. I'm just going to see if it'll... Ooh, that's so pretty. Oh my gosh. That blended like so easily. I'm just going to put a little bit more on. But I'm putting cream over powder bronzer because that doesn't usually bother me. This is definitely like very, very shimmery. It's got quite a bit of gold shimmer in it, so keep that in mind. I don't think it's like a highlighter though. It definitely does have like a pink undertone to it, but I was curious because I didn't buy any of these cream products when they originally launched, so I figured since they did some new ones, I wanted to check them out. I do like that they expanded their bronzer range though, because I think they had like 5 or 4 bronzers initially, and they added 3 more, so they have about 7 bronzers now, which I think is so smart to just keep like adding to the range. And maybe they just haven't done the perfect bronzer for me yet, but I'll definitely double check the shades once I see them all in store. But this is pretty. It's not super duper pigmented for me. I feel like it could have been a little bit more of a pink shade. I feel like it kind of blended in, but I'll have to check once I review the footage, because sometimes my little viewfinder plays me, so it could go either way. Anyways, I had also bought this Westman Atelier powder, so I figure I should try this on camera as well. I did try this the other day, and I honestly didn't feel like it like changed my life, but I'm just going to use it to set my under eye. Now, I do have the Huda concealer on, and I've been wearing it for quite a bit now. It does look like it's doing a good job of keeping my under eye set. I can see some creasing. I know that I have creases in my under eye area, but it's not bothering me too much. Okay, so for this lower lash line, I'm going to use this Melt pencil. This is such a pretty color. Oh my goodness, this is the shade Caramel. And then on this side, I'm going to use the Forest shade from Hourglass. This is like my go-to army green lower lash liner shade. So those are the 2 shades in my waterline. So I'm grabbing this flat brush from Sydney Grace and I'm gonna go into the shade Metro and I'm just gonna run that on the waterline. Okay, and so I'm gonna use the same brush and I'm gonna go on this eye and I'm just gonna take the shade Liberty and I'm just gonna blend. Okay, I just love how the mattes are blending this palette and I really want to throw on the purple shade, which is why I wanted to do my lower lash line on camera. So I'm gonna grab a teeny tiny flat brush and I'm gonna go into the shade Wisteria and I'm just gonna throw that on the inner corner because for some reason I feel like this shade will pair really nicely with the khaki shade. So I'm just gonna build that up a little bit. I think we had talked about it in my community tab. A lot of you were like thrown off by the lilac-y shade and I totally understand, but I feel like the lilac shade could be a really flattering inner corner, like a little twist to it, you know, because a lot of the times for inner corner shades we use either like a white shade or a light creamy shade. And so I think something like this that's a pastel could really open up your eye and brighten up the look. So I just put it in there because I was curious. It's definitely not as vibrant on my skin tone, I feel like, as it might be on somebody with a bit of a lighter complexion. Also, if I really wanted to amp it up, I could probably layer it on top of a white base. I did start off with a white eyeshadow base though, so I mean, I don't want to add more white eyeshadow to it, but it's definitely doable. I'm going to take a little pencil brush and I'm going to go into the shade Fleur and I'm going to just tone down my brow bone a little bit because I feel like that Paloma shade is a little bit lighter than I wanted it to be. So I'm just going to help tone that down by just blending the eyeshadow. Okay, friends, so here are the two looks that are done. Now, let me tell you really quick before I talk about the palettes, what else is on my face today. So, like I mentioned, we're trying a bunch of new things. So, I am wearing the Huda Beauty. This is the new Faux Filter Concealer. So, I do have that on. I feel like it looks okay. I'm not 100% convinced either way. You guys know when it comes to complexion products, it takes me like months to figure out if I love them or not. And you guys saw me apply bronzer and blush from ABH. My foundation today is the Natasha Denona Foundation X that I'm trying to finish up. And then this lippy is new. I did give in and I bought one of the Give Beauty lipsticks. This is the matte formula in Lovable Me. This is such a me shade. And I thought, let me try it out. I do love this packaging. I think it just looks a little bit different, a little bit more fun compared to some of the more boring packaging I have, I guess. So I do love that. I am wearing the Westman Atelier powder like I showed you guys. And I totally forgot I got the Tarte tubing mascara, but I forgot to put it on. I want to talk to you guys about the Sydney Grace brushes really quick because I was researching this while I was hanging out with Freya for a little bit, but these brushes are automatically 30% off until June 20th because they're doing an introductory offer. So this is a good deal that I wanted to mention to you guys in case you hadn't heard, but they're doing 30% off all of their brushes, and then you can use my code KHMAKEUP, which is not an affiliate code, so I don't make any money off of it, but you can stack it. So they have two sets. They have like an eye set and a face set, and I was just playing on the Sydney Grace website, and basically you got almost 20, actually more than $20 off the, I think I was doing the eye brush set. Anyway, I just want to mention that because it's a limited deal. So yeah, I mean, I tried a bunch of the eye brushes out and they were really nice. And yeah, like I said, they feel really nice and soft. And I like the ferrules because they're very natural, like a wooded handle. So I think that even if you're not into like really flashy brushes, these are really nice and simple and they look a little more expensive, which is nice if you're into that aesthetic, you know what I mean? Anyway, I talked your ear off enough about everything else I tried out today. Now let's get into the star of the show. I feel like the eyeshadow palette. So I will say I love, love, love this packaging. Now, like a lot of you that watch beauty YouTube or you're creators yourself, ABH was kind of like my first high-end, one of my first high-end brands that I really got into. So I grabbed a bunch of their palettes because, of course, if we're talking about ABH, we need to compare and contrast. So this is the last palette they launched. This is the Primrose Palette. And I will say they definitely followed along with the Primrose palette as far as the style of the packaging. They got rid of that felt packaging and they're giving you way more eyeshadow as well. I think I saw on the ABH Instagram that there is 200% more eyeshadow in these palettes, which is pretty obvious because if you look at their older palettes, as you can see, the pans are significantly bigger in the new palette. So I just wanted to show you guys because I thought maybe if you have some of these palettes, you might not need this new palette. Here is the Makeup by Mario palette. I will say the Makeup by Mario one has more dark options, so that's really nice. But I kind of wanted to swatch this green shadow actually because I haven't played with my ABH in a while. Yeah, they're different, so that's nice. I mean, the new shade is a little bit more of a lighter olive, whereas the Mario one is a little bit darker and the new shade has more sparkles in it, so there's that. I also feel like, you know, you can kind of do some looks with the Subculture palette. I have one of the good Subcultures. I found it at a TJ Maxx and it's actually like the reformulated one that they didn't tell many people about. This is just the famous soft glam palette. I also wanted to show you guys the Carly Bible palette with the new palette. It has that goldeny olive shade, but this one's definitely more of a green palette. So just wanted to show you guys some comparisons and things like that, show you guys some of the things that are in my existing collection. Now, as far as other palettes that remind me of this one, I did think of two immediately. The first one I thought of was this Camo palette by KKW Beauty. And I will say, personally, I do prefer the shades in the Camo palette just because there's like that darker brown shade and stuff like that. But these are honestly very similar vibes. That lilac shade, Wisteria, is the one that's really kind of giving this a little bit more of a different edge. And then we have the Khaki palette from Huda Beauty. I did not like the quality of this Khaki Haze palette, so I would not recommend this one over this one, but I wanted to show you those two. And then when I was sitting here putting mascara on, I had a bit of an epiphany and I was like, oh my gosh, you know what this palette really kind of gives me the vibes of, but I like this palette better? It's the Midnight Sun palette from Pat McGrath. I know that this one doesn't have as many mattes as the ABH palette, but I love Pat McGrath's shimmers. And I feel like if you have the Pat McGrath palette, maybe you can kind of use this to create the vibes of the Natasha Denona palette because there's this pretty dark olive shade. I think this shade is a prettier version of that matte purple in my opinion. You guys know I love Pat McGrath's matte shadows. This is one of my favorite Pat McGrath palettes, so it's giving me a little bit of the vibe. Obviously not an exact dupe or anything. I'm not telling you guys to say like burn your Nouveau palette because you have the Pat McGrath palette, but personally just thinking about, you know, which one I kind of like better, I wish they had structured the ABH palette a little bit like this, only because I'm a little bit salty about this metallic shade. But you guys, I mean, I have a very big eyeshadow palette collection, so not being able to have a dark matte isn't going to be the end of the world. Also, this does have like more of a satin formula, so I think you'd be able to blend it out in the outer corner and use it as a deepening up shade. Even if you're not the most comfortable with doing that, I think you'll be okay because it blended pretty much out to a very satiny matte shade right there. I wish I'd done that. Anyway, just some thoughts. I'll definitely be playing with this palette some more, so I will keep you guys posted in my ranking video for the month of June. Those are just some of the comparisons I wanted to show you guys. Overall, I'm feeling really positive about this palette. I will say that you guys know me, I'm always partially moonlighting as a clown when it comes to makeup because I love vibrant, bright eyeshadows, but I feel like for what people love to see in stores, this is gonna be a really hot palette for the year 2022. I feel like a lot of people that are everyday shoppers that go in to see makeup will be really attracted to this palette. It's also reminding me a little bit of the new Urban Decay, the green, I think it's the Foxy palette, the little naked mini palette they did. It looks a lot like this. I've been eyeing that palette every time I go into stores. Something about it really calls to me. But yeah, I think this will be very, very popular, and it's definitely a trending color story that I've seen some of the bigger brands do. So also really quick before I go, I just wanted to show you guys a side-by-side of this one and Mel Thompson, because I know that there's like a purple shade in this palette as well. So I just wanted to show you guys a side-by-side. Obviously Sydney Grace has an amazing formula, and a lot of you might have that palette as well. But anyway, like I was saying, this is a nice palette. It's definitely not me. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, this is like my favorite palette of 2022. I can definitely see this becoming a great everyday staple for the everyday makeup lover. So yeah, so far I'm pretty pumped with this. I'm glad I bought it. I definitely can't wait to create more looks with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will see you in a new video very, very soon.